Had slight running problems with it. He's found 1, 2, 3, possibly more mouse carcasses in the air intake. Drove down the road and suddenly completely lost power and it wouldn't restart again. The unbelievable thing about this, other than the condition, is... So down at Moore's, quick update on the Saab 900 Turbo. As always with these things that have been standing for a long time, we're having to work through and find exactly what needs doing to get it at MOT. We probably won't be advisory free on the MOT, but we'll get an MOT to say the car is safe and drivable, and then it'll be down to the next person how far they want to take it. But Trev's just showing me why we had slight running problems with it. He's found 1, 2, 3, possibly more mouse carcasses in the air intake. Beautiful job. So once we've got everything back together again and we've got it back at the unit, we will update you on more. But yeah, at the moment it's just going through the process of being MOT'd, and obviously we're finding what years of storage have done to it so far. There's our water pump, so that'll go again. We'll stick that back in. And the thermostat. No, obviously the Trev's replaced those. We've got a brand new radiator to go on the Saab as well. So it looks like my plans have a big chunk of December off to tinkle my toys and spend more time with the family. Is going out the window because it is Friday. What we now, it's the 9th, is it today? Or 10th? Don't know what date it is today. And I'm going to move everything about because someone wants to come and see the Qashqai. Phone calls are still coming in on cars. The Renault Twingo really taken off. I've had, it's been bought now, obviously, but lots of phone calls on it. Somebody wanted to get finance on it the other day, and other messages coming through. So it seems that even in December, people buy the more interesting stuff. And then I guess they buy the more run-of-the-mill stuff too. So let's get this Qashqai out of here. It's just that game of trying to keep everything clean and get it out for viewings at the same time. So we need to clean these two and tuck them back up again, because one's being picked up today. Potentially one will be picked up tomorrow. But like I say, typically the Qashqai's in the corner. So let's move everything about. So empty space because the Twingo is gone. It's on its way back to London. We have also sold the Nissan Qashqai. That... couple went through that tooth and comb. And is that the expression? I can't think now. Anyway, they went through it in great detail. They did find a few things I'd missed. Well, not one thing I'd missed, which was the screen on the stereo. It's pixelating. I hadn't noticed that at all. I don't think I'd turned the stereo on, to be fair. So I found that you can buy just the screen on its own on eBay, because apparently it's quite a common thing, and you just solder the screen in the back of it. But unfortunately no one's delivering now until the new year. Everybody seems to have pushed out the delivery dates, but there wasn't a lot else to pick the car apart other than that, because it's in such amazing condition. And I did have to have a bit of a laugh. I'm sure they won't mind me saying, when they came along, the lady tried to negotiate like almost immediately on price, and even her husband said, hang fire, if you want to try and negotiate the best deal, you have to decide you want the car first. You have to say you want it to negotiate a deal. So I had a laugh and said, you've been on the sales course too, haven't you, mate? You know, get the commitment first they are going to buy before you start negotiating. But anyway, yeah, other than that, he wanted to have a look underneath. So I drove it up the ramp there. And when you do that backwards, when you do that, you can sort of lay on the floor there and look under the car without having to go underneath it. And it's a little bit crusty underneath because it is a 2012 Qashqai that's lived in Devon. A bit like the Qashqai we looked at for a friend the other day. She was told to buy, I don't know if I told this story, she was told to buy a Qashqai because the underside, a new car, because the underside of her Qashqai was crusty. And she actually came to look at this Qashqai. But when she came to look at it, I said, should we just stick yours on the ramp a minute and have a look? So I put her on my ramp at the back, had a look underneath it, and it was all just surface rust. It just needed wire brushing down and painting. I said, no point buying one, because exactly as I said to her that unless you were going to go for a 2018, 2019, the underside of the ones you're buying from me are probably a bit crusty, and this is only 4 years newer than hers. So this underbody side of things, hers actually had an advisory for underbody. This is not had an advisory for underbody. But anyway, when we got on the ramp, we had a look underneath. It was a bit crusty. And he said, what can we do about that? And I said, look, I'm happy if you pay the full asking price. And we will wire brush the underside of it. We'll treat it with the converter. And we'll wax oil it underneath. We'll put that screen on it. And but I said, you know, you can only cut the cake so many ways. There's no discount if I have the extra work done. And I took a deposit for the work we're doing. So we spoke about deposits before. This one, I specifically told them the deposit is non-refundable for the work that is going to go on. So I've charged £300, well, provisionally. Obviously, I've just charge them the asking price, but I'm going to do £300 worth of work on the car, and I'm doing that specifically for them because they've asked for it. So they've left a deposit for that, and that's non-refundable if they pull out the deal. If I renege on my part of the deal and don't do the work properly or don't do it within the agreed time frame, then I would accept the deposit was refundable to them. So that one's sold. The Jazz, we've got a subscriber coming down on Monday, potentially for the Jazz. I think I don't see why they wouldn't leave with the Jazz. It's in really nice condition. I think we've sorted out that heating problem. I'm going to take it for one more drive just to make sure. So that should, but they're going to be part exchanging a cheapie, so I'll be interested to see. But we're playing a fun game with that one. I do like his style. So what he said is he's got 2 cars, and I've given him a part exchange price for the 2 cars, but he hasn't told me which one he's going to bring down because he hasn't decided yet. So rather than tell me, he's just going to surprise me with what he turns up on Monday morning, which makes it a bit more fun. So I'll update you on what that is when that comes in. So yeah, other than that, we've also picked up another new car while we've been out and about. Now this actually is a subscriber's car. They didn't come to me, they came and did a deal at the main dealers, and then when they were closing off on the deal, agreeing the part exchange price, he said, where's the car going to go then? Is it going to go to Chop's Garage? Which surprised the hell out of the salesperson that he knew me. And he said, oh, well, he said, yeah, quite possibly. So I'm pleased to know it's going to go to him. So I didn't speak with you directly, subscribers, but you've got a cracking little Fiesta here. So it's the 1 litre, which they call the Eco Boom, don't they? But these later ones, I think, were more reliable. This is a 2065 plate, I think, by which time they'd sorted out the issues with it. But this is mega low miles. I'll get the keys in a minute. And the condition is outstanding. The condition is outstanding. I drove it back yesterday and it drives sweet as a nut. You knew it. Yeah, no problems with the drive at all. I couldn't pick holes in the drive. All the alloys are in good nick. It's a bit dirty now. They actually valeted it before they dropped it off, but it's got dirty on the drive home. It's a 3-door, obviously, which, you know, ideally I'd have a 5-door because they just give a bit more flexibility, but 3 doors still sell, especially to the younger people seem to like them. So it's got that little 1 litre turbocharge, which means good fuel economy and cheaper insurance for them. I'm not sure what the spec is on this one. I'm not really into my Fords, am I? So I don't know. Excuse the disgrace of the Range Rover. I do need to give that a wash. Yes, it's in. There's no bodywork at all that I can see to do on it at all. No bodywork at all. It's got a full service history, and I believe the mileage is under 30,000. Let me get the keys a sec. So the mileage is 27,116. Mega low mileage. Look at the interior. Focus. Yeah, it is absolutely mint. It is brand new in here. The seats don't have a mark on them. The plastics don't. It is in really, really nice condition. This is one on the face of it that looks like it doesn't need any work. Like I say, I don't think anything from the drive was bad. I think it's got an advisory-free MOT. I don't think it needs an MOT. It's got a really long advisory-free one. I think I recall that. I'm sure the MOT squad will be on the case already. But yeah, I don't believe it needs an MOT, and I think it's been serviced regularly. So this may be a wash it and stick it outdoor. So it's one of the 1%ers. It's one of the 1%ers. You know the score around here. But I've said that before, haven't I? I still managed to spend money on cars. So we'll see how we get on with it. Again, the only thing that I'd knock it for, and it's not a problem with the car at all, is the fact that the mileage is low, which means the price will be higher. Again, I'd almost be better at the moment with the stock I've got for this to be 80,000 miles and be a cheaper car, because everything I've got at the moment seems to be low mileage and really good nick. So it's the higher price point. And obviously we know sub 5k cars absolutely fly out the door. So that's, I guess, the only thing that's kind of is, I'm not going to say slightly disappointing about it, because obviously the mileage is great and hopefully it will sell off the back of it. But if you look at most of my stock now, it is mega low mileage stuff. Anyway, we've got to get that cleaned up and get it up for sale, and traditionally and predictably, as per human nature, because that's the cleanest car, despite the fact that it's only just come in, I'll probably do that one first. So the fun never stops when you're dealing with old cars. The Renault Twingo went out yesterday. Guy drove all the way back to London from Devon, didn't miss a beat. Took it out this morning, he's just rung me, it's broken down on the side of the road. It started for him, ran fine, drove down the road and suddenly completely lost power and it wouldn't restart again. So I asked him, is it turning over? He said yes. I told him to hop out the car, turn the key off and back, lock the car, unlock it again, and just in case it was an immobiliser fault. And he happened to mention when he went outside that it smelt of fuel because he'd been trying to start it too many times. That told me that it wasn't getting fuel potentially to the engine, which, like I say, is normally either an immobiliser or your fuel pump's gone. But the smell of fuel made me think, is there a leak? He hopped under, had a look, came in and said, yes, it's peeing fuel out from near the engine. So it sounds to me like a fuel pipe has burst, probably a rubber one, because if it was a rusty one, it was something we'd have picked up in a prep, I would imagine. I mean, not impossible. Sometimes they're tucked away and you don't see them. So unfortunately, he's not got AA. He hadn't actually booked himself any recovery cover yet, so he's going to have some emergency recovery. Let's just get it to nearest garage, get him to have a look at it, and come back to me. It's Sunday tomorrow, so I don't suppose he'll get it sorted tomorrow. Big bummer for him. Real pain in the bum. But again, we have to be realistic. The car is now 11 years old, coming up 11 years old. All the rubbers on it and the pipes on it, they're, like I say, they're end of life. They're end of life at about 5 or 6 years. They start to perish. You will have to replace them. As to when you're going to have to replace them, they don't always give you a warning. Sometimes they can just let go. So hopefully, fingers crossed, it's a quick fix. But it's once again why I say to you guys, whoever tells you how much profit they're making on a car on these channels when they've sold the car, it's meaningless. Come back to them again 6 months later and see how many claims have been made against that vehicle and how much they actually netted after paying out for the repairs. Because as we know, this idea that dealers don't have to do anything with cars and they just wriggle out of it is just utter rubbish. There's no avoiding having to do the fixes. You just have to play that numbers game. And this again, some people say to me, oh no, if you get a really good car that's just been MOT'd and serviced and is in really good condition, you should give higher than the basic part exchange price on it, and or sell it off cheaper because you haven't had to do anything to it. No, you can't do that. Those are the cars you get lucky on. Every now and then you get lucky on them and you don't have to put any money into them. But they have to cover the cars that you do end up not making as much money on. You can't have a situation where you say one person, oh, you bought the car that I made money on, I'll do a fix for you. Oh, you bought the car I didn't make money on, no, I can't do a fix for you. It's not the way it works. You have to look at it overall. So when you sell a car to a dealer and it ends up that he doesn't have to put any money into it, I guess it can be a little bit frustrating. You think, they're running away with it, but trust me, what you think they're making profit-wise, it'll get eaten into by something else. Especially if they're doing the older stuff. We've got to remember, like I say, time and time again, I'm doing cars over 10 years old. Normally that car had 85,000 miles on it. So I'm normally doing cars that they've had a hell of a life before they've gone out the door to our customers. And we did advisory-free MOT on that Twingo. And it wasn't a case of it just went and got a rubber stamp as an advisory-free. I spent £1,000 on it before it got its advisory-free MOT. And on that, we did some brake pipes, if I remember rightly. We did some suspension. We did the cam belt and water pump, didn't we? So it wasn't for lack of prep that this has happened. It's just an old car doing what old cars do, unfortunately. And like I say, they don't often give you warning. So yeah, real bummer for him. I always feel bad. Not that I can't recall a situation where someone's been broken down the side of the road. We had the Mercedes van the other day where he pulled over, but the van was still running fine and got him home, and it just turned out it was slightly overfilled on oil. I can't recall another situation where I've had a phone call and the car's actually broken down and let somebody down the side of the road. I think he might have the dubious pleasure of, despite the fact that we've done hundreds of older cars, for being the first person actually left on the side of the road not able to get anywhere. So yeah, a dubious pleasure for him. Unfortunately, like I say, I do feel bad for him because I had a message on my phone from him getting back from here to London. I asked him some message, tell me how he got on, and said what a great car it was and how happy was it, how it got him back to London, no problem at all. So it's obviously paying him back for being nice about it, unfortunately. While we're on the subject of cheap cars, I just had my friend pop by for a chat who's also dealing. He was giving me another example. He sold like a 2010 Renault Clio cheaply for like £1,000. It was probably normally about a £2,500 car. And he sold it for just £1,000 because it had some issues, one of which was the sunroof leaked and it let damp into the car. I forget what the other one was. Something, again, sort of cosmetic-y, sort of didn't stop it functioning as a car. So he told the lady all of this. He wrote it on the paperwork, And then she messaged him a few days later and said, oh, well, the carpet's wet. And he said, well, it will be because the sunroof leaks and it's been pouring rain for the last 2 days. And she said, oh, no, I'm not happy with that. So there is a service where you can ring, as a dealer, you can ring not the trading standards, what's the other one? Citizens Advice. You can ring them and you can say, look, I am a dealer, this is the situation, what would you be saying to this person? They said, look, although you sound like you treat them absolutely fairly, they can argue the car's not fit for purpose. So although she signed the paperwork to say those faults exist on a £1,000 a dirt cheap car, she can return it and get money back. And so he's just taking her money back and taking the car, and he says, I'll sell it to somebody else sensible. But again, that's why you can't sell cheap cars. Course is all done. So PT's done the head gasket on it. For those who don't recall this car, we took it in part exchange against another Corsa automatic, but it had a bad head gasket, and the owner told us it had a bad head gasket, and the reason they were changing the car in was because they'd just had some paintwork done on it to make it really nice condition. They had just had a timing chain done on it, and then the head, it started to overheat, and the lady was just like, enough is enough, I'm going to go and get a different car. So she got a really low mileage 21,000 mile Corsa automatic from me on a 2009, I want to say 2010. Part exchanged this. She said she was going to take it to We Buy Any Car, but I said, look, I'll have it off you because small autos are in demand at the moment. We got PT on the case, who did the head gasket work for us, changed out the water pump, changed out the belts. And then he actually, first time Pete's done a valet for me, he gave it a valet. He's done a really good job. I have to say, he was starting off with something that was a bit special in the first place for a 57 plate. So I want you to remember, this car is now, what's this car now? Elemental black now. It's 16 years old, isn't it? We're coming up over 16 years old. I want you to remember that when we look around this car, because look at the condition of it. Like I said, she spent a lot of money getting it done up because she was intending on keeping it. She had some of this sort of scrapes and stuff done. I couldn't tell you where they are because whoever did it did a really nice job on the paintwork. The alloys are in good condition. They've got some very light scuffs on them. So yeah, the bodywork for this age of car, it is really, really good. I haven't had to polish out any sort of hedgerow scratches, anything like that. All the paintwork is in nice, and there's no big dents, scrapes or scratches. But the big thing is, you're not going to believe this interior. Now, when I talk about immaculate and as new, I'm quite confident saying it with this, because this is, apart from a foot of muddy footprints from me getting in and out, look at the seats, man. They are brand spanking. Absolutely brand spanking. All the plastics free of scraping, scratching. All the buttons still have their white labelling on them. It's totally clear. None of it's worn through at all. Gear knob looks like it's never been used. Obviously that auto was the big draw for this one. The rear seats are the same. They are. I've got the front seats all the way back, by the way. That's not the actual legroom. It's for the photographing. But yeah, all absolutely mint. Inside and out, it is in fantastic condition. I doubt there's another Corsa this sort of age in this condition. The mileage was 86,000. I think it's got a pretty much full service history. I'll double check it, but at least it's, I mean, there's certainly a lot of service history with it. And of course, we've done oil and filters when the head was done. It's got a new advisory free MOT, flew through that, no problems at all. I think we had to do a tyre possibly. I think that was it. So we'll get this up now for sale. I think in the current market with that mileage, it's worth $3,995, I'd say. Again, there'll be cheaper ones out there, but I can't imagine they're anywhere near in this condition. And they're going to be driveway sales where you've got no kind of comeback. I think at this price point, the Consumer Rights Act does give people a lot more protection on these older cars. It's probably even more beneficial than newer stuff. If you're going to buy off a driveway, buy the newer stuff, the older stuff. I say, at least if you bought this off the driveway and you test drove and it didn't overheat, which these won't a lot of the time until you take them for a longer run, the following day, if you found out on a longer run it had a head gasket, you got zero comeback on the seller. Anyway, there is one problem left with it, and this is why I do feel sorry for people at this price point, as in the dealers at this price point. It's so hard to do cars at this. I've got to open the bonnet from that side. It's so hard to do cars at this kind of price point, because when they're this age, they can just keep throwing stuff up, and it's not because you've got a bad car, and it's not because you're a bad dealer. It's just because it's an old car, and as we've discussed, in my opinion, 10 years old, car becomes end of life. From that point forwards, its life is extended by putting new parts on it. Yes, it can go on forever and a day afterwards, but that's not via not having to put new parts on it. That's by extending the lifespan of the car by replacing components to keep it going. So when I say end of life, I mean the stuff that came on the car new is end of life, and various bits will have to be replaced. For example, us doing the timing chain on this one and doing the head. So yeah, what's the problem with it? It's a really minor thing, but it'll have to be done, and it's going to obviously add to the costs again. And this is where these kind of cars nickel and dime you to death. We won't park yet. You can probably hear there we've got a dry bearing. I thought it's just worth showing you how I identify where the dry bearings are on these. So you can spray a bit of grease on the belt to see if the belt quietens things down or not. You can spray a bit on the back there, see if it quietens down. It doesn't. So if I come down here where we've got the back of the air-con pump, if I spray it down there, instantly quietens. So that tells me that it's the bearing in the air-con pump down there that is bad. So we're going to have to swap out that air-con pump. So that's, you can see the new parts all nice and shiny there. That's going to cost us again, because obviously we've got fitting. You can hear that will stay quiet, and I can probably spray the hell out of that, and it'll stay quiet for a good number of hours probably. But it is going to come back again. That isn't a long-term solution, spraying the grease on it. You can't pack it out with grease, so we just need to replace it. Like I say, this is where cars like this nickel and dime you to death. As I say, I honestly do think that over 10 years old and under, say, £5,000, it should be 30 days. 30 days for a car dealer to sell you a car, and if within 30 days you don't have faults, then it wasn't a faulty car at point of sale. If something goes wrong after that point, that's just because it's an old car. If you want cars that are guaranteed to not have parts fail on them after that kind of period of time, just go and buy yourself a brand new car. And I think, you know, from £5,000 upwards and sort of under 10 years old, then it's okay for it to be the longer period, something like the 6 months or so forth. Perhaps it should be like staggered from that point onwards. But that would allow dealers to start selling cars again like this to the people that ring up all the time wanting £2,000 cars and £1,500 cars. It would allow dealers to start sending still decent cars out the door, but with people realising that, you know, like I say, after you've run it around for a month and potentially put on 1,000 miles or more, you've been sold a decent car. After that, you're taking on the ownership of it, you're taking on the upkeep of it. So anyway, I know that'll never happen, because like I say, there'll be people in the comments already saying a dealer whinging about spending money on cars, and you get them for peanuts and you sell them for loads and loads of profit and all this kind of thing. I mean, they seem to think that people are accepting £100 for this car, and then we're selling it for £5,000 when its value is only £3,000. So we're having it away. It's like no one's gifting cars away at the moment, and obviously the price they were being offered for this at We Buy Any Car didn't reflect a head gasket problem, because they weren't going to tell them it had a head gasket problem. I do actually think though it would be better for the public, because you could then go and buy a car cheaply under £3,000 from a dealer with some level of protection on it, rather than be thrown to the wolves with the private sellers. And don't get me wrong, I know there's good private sellers, but there's also a lot of people buying stuff from auction and pretending to be private sellers from their driveway, aren't there? There's those kind of people, and there are people offering cars to people with you know, with faults. We know that's the case, because it happens to us in the trade all the time when people part exchange cars. But I say this person was honest about it in the first place. But we've made margins aren't massive, but we made a really nice car, like I say, because it was worth doing, because she spent the money on the bodywork, and because she had a good service history, and because the interior was that immaculate. When we did that work, we knew we were probably going to have the best little automatic Corsa of this age out there. So enough of my waffling, let's get it up for sale. Just a Kia looking at the new EV9. This is a really nice looking truck. What do you reckon? Should we get out of the Range Rover and get into a Kia EV9? I think this spec 77 grand. Look at the inside of it, man. It's absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, it is nice.
Twin roofs. To be fair, I don't know what the new Ranges are like, but this is brimming lovely. So we're treating ourselves with a little bit of Firebird tinkering time. Pete's decided that my power steering and my alternator needs tightening up, so he's having a little fiddle there. As you know, the last couple of times this has been on the channel, we needed to jump start it, because battery's gone a bit flat. I can't keep jump starting it, obviously needs charging up. Luckily enough, Topdon have just sent me out the TB600 Pro, which is both a charger and a battery tester. So you see we've got it plugged in currently at the moment. It's charging up the battery. You can select what type of battery you want. If I disconnect it, I'll show you that a second. That might be better for you. I can cycle through, so 12 volt small, 12 volt lithium, 6 volt normal, 12 volt normal, 12 volt REP. What would that mean? REP. Don't know what that one means. And 12 volt SUP. So we're just going to go for 12 volts normal, which I select by just double clicking the button. There we go. So it's now charging. So it's now telling me what percentage the battery's at, 85%, and it should flash up in a second and tell me what's the current voltages of it as well. So it's showing me that it's 12.8 volts currently. It's been charging for about a couple of hours now, and like I say, the progress is 85% of the way through. But the clever thing about this, like I say, is it's also Bluetooth. So I've got the app on my phone. Let me show you that. So here we have the app on my phone. You can see it's connected. It's showing me that the battery is charging there. So if I'm going to sit in the office or whatever, I can still keep an eye on the fact it's charging. But we've got, we can choose smart charging, quick charging, testing options. If I go into testing options, so if we go into like battery test, go next on that, we select our battery type, which is going to be a, is it a regular flooded battery, that one, Pete?
That's a regular one, yeah.
Yeah, regular flooded. And we go EN. Battery rating. What's the battery rating? 825 it is. Okay. Done. Next. And you see it's doing a test on the battery there, and it's saying it's diminished battery performance. State of the health is 16%, state of charge 100%, because obviously we've got it on charge at the moment. Battery voltage 12.79. So we can save that, we can share that with somebody else. We can do a charging test. So start the vehicle, turn off all the electronics, turn on all the electronics, and then go to next. We won't do that now because we've got it on charge. So yeah, we can do a charging test on it as well. And we can do a cranking test as well. At the moment, there's probably not a lot of point doing that with the battery on charge. You've got quick charging there if you want to do get your battery up and running faster. You can also set it to smart charge if you just want to leave it on charge in your garage. So it's got all the features of a battery charger, but also all the features of a battery tester on your phone. So again, really smart bit of kit from Topdon. Means you don't need to have a charger and a tester. You've got it all in one on that. And like I say, you've got the software on your phone. And we can safely leave this charging now and not be around the car. As normal, we're going to get a bit of a deal for you on one of these. I'll put a link in the video description down below and show you the deal on screen now. And what I'm also going to do is I'm going to throw one of these in as part of the tech bundle that I'm going to put on offer for the raffle. Now what I'm talking about there, I'm talking about the raffle for our 2018 Citroen C1 Flare. Only done 40,000 miles. It'll be coming out with a full brand new MOT and a 6-month warranty. And it can be won for just £2 per ticket. This time round we are supporting the Veterans Charity. So that's the charity that helps veterans that are struggling financially and need other help. So a fantastic cause. Many thanks to those of you that already supported it and got involved. But as with the previous raffles, we found that some winners didn't actually really want the car. They just wanted to get involved. They wanted to support the charity. What we offer is an alternative price, and we're offering Topdon equipment, including that charger you were just seeing, that battery tester and charger you were just seeing. We're going to team that up with like a Topdon diagnostics machine, Topdon jump packs, all kinds of stuff like that. Probably about £1,000 worth of gear, which will be offered to you as an alternative prize if you don't want the car. And what we'll then do is, on your behalf, is sell the Citroen C1 and give the money from the sale of that to the charity as well, so they could really do well out of it. You've probably only got about 2 days left to enter the raffle if you want to get involved, but there are some special offers. If you check it in there, I think it's in the top right hand corner when you get into the raffle, there are some special offers running for the last few days where it's almost like buy one get one free, bundle loads of tickets, or even more than that free. So check that out. I'll put a link in the video description down below for those that want to get involved. So I've got a little update on the Renault Twingo Sport situation. So hopefully that's within this video. I never quite know where stuff's going in the videos. So that was the Renault Twingo that went out on, when did it go out? Saturday, or was it Friday? The guy drove it all the way back to London, another customer to London. Drove all the way back to London, went out to use it the next day, and it packed up on the middle of the road and wouldn't start. And he had a look around and found that fuel was coming out the car, and we needed to get him to a local garage and find out what was going on. Well, he gave me a ring this morning. So our subscriber Ed, he has given me permission to use his name. He found a garage to look at the car, but they were going to take till Tuesday to have a look at it. So he decided to have a little fiddle with himself and have a check of it. He's a little bit hands-on with cars. There's a little bit of tinkering with them. And thank goodness, found the simplest problem ever. There was a fuel pipe in the engine bay that had one of those little plastic snap ring clips on it. And when you push it down, it snaps into place. Now, that had popped off. We don't know whether possibly it was the amount of work we got down the garage or not. I don't know if that pipe's in the way of anything you need to do when you're doing cam belts off. It was just from somebody previously tinkering away with the car. But it lasted all the way back down to London. It lasted on all the times I'd driven it. But it just decided at that point to pop off. All he did was push it back on again. It was up and running again, which is absolutely fantastic, which means he's got no downtime really with the car. Yes, it was a pain in the bum. It happened to him on the side of the road, but he's had no downtime with the car. A bit of a legend. That's the kind of person you want to be selling cars to. Someone who recognises a vehicle is that age. You need to be a little bit hands-on and be prepared to have a little tinker here and there, because it's just getting that to the age where, you know, stuff like that might be happening. Wouldn't let me pay him anything for it at all. I don't know what costs he might have incurred during that process. I don't know if he had it recovered or not, but refused to take any payment from me. So top buyer, you can't ask fairer than that. So hopefully he's out there enjoying it and screaming around the lanes, and that's one less off my mind. But what we have had, and I don't know if I've mentioned it previously, but in the same time frame, I've had a phone call on the Vauxhall Zafira that I sold. Probably, I want to say getting on 2 months now. The Vauxhall Zafira has been out. 2013, 70,000 miles on it. He had an engine management light come up on it this morning. He was over in Barnstable, so just get it to a local garage, get them to check it out. They plugged it in and found that there was a misfire on a single cylinder. Now, with Vauxhalls, as a general rule, if it's ECU, it's multiple misfires. If it's single cylinder, it's normally spark plug or coil pack. We are hoping that it is just that simple. He spoke to the garage A&R, who did my Pontiac Firebird. If you remember, they fixed up my Pontiac Firebird. He had been to see them, and they said, oh, we're okay for James to send us the parts, and then they'll just be like half-hour labour max. So they're going to put the spark plugs in first, see if that works, and then put the coil pack on it. The guy said to me, is it included in the warranty? Now, technically, it wouldn't be. If it's spark plugs, it wouldn't be, because they're a servicing item. If it's the coil pack and the coil pack has failed, then again, on the car that age, after a couple of months, you could argue that's fair wear and tear. But again, as you know, my viewpoint on all these things are those parts are going to cost me about 50 quid. The fitting and fiddling around 50 quid. If it fixes it for the goodwill, he's a local businessman, for the goodwill, it's probably worth getting that done. So fingers crossed, that is a simple one. But again, this is just part and parcel of dealing with the age of vehicles I have. If I was dealing with cars, you're under 5 years old, under 50,000 miles, the odds of me having issues would be much lower. Don't get me wrong, I know people still get issues with cars like that, but the odds of me getting problems with the cars would be much lower. But the market here to sell that in volume, it's just not where I am at the moment.